Hi, I'm Ian. Welcome back to Nutrition at Gardens of Eden. Today we're going to be doing a healthy quiche. My take on the healthy quiche, instead of using normal flour, we're using almond flour. And we're taking away the full fat milk and we're going to be using plant-based milk. So today I'm using almond milk. And also we can use turkey bacon instead of normal bacon, which also takes away that fat. So let's crack on with this dish and see how it turns out. Okay, so now we're going to start making the pastry. So now you're going to grab your almond flour. So we've got 192 grams of almond flour, so put it into a mixing bowl. 76 grams of dairy-free butter, but you can use 76 milliliters of oil if you want. So just put that in. And then you want about 2 spoons of water. And just a pinch of salt in. So now we're just going to start mixing it. It's always easier just to get them with your hands. Give it a good knead. You can see it's starting to come together. Perfect, starting to get there. Just mix it for a good 2 to 3 minutes till it all comes together like a perfect dough. Just like a normal dough, it will just feel a little bit different because of the almond flour. You may think it's grainy, but it's absolutely normal. So now the dough is all perfectly together, we're going to put it in the fridge for 10 to 15 minutes, just so it nicely rests, and we can roll it out and put it into the mould. Okay, so now your dough is out the fridge, it's been resting for 10 to 15 minutes. So now let's get to the next stage. So grab your mould, spray it with some spray so it doesn't stick. So we're using some grease spray here. So now we're going to grab your pastry, and because it's quite soft because of the almond flour and stuff, the best thing always to do is actually just push it down with your hands. Instead of rolling it like a normal rolling pin. And this is also good because it gives you that nice rustic feel. There you go, just keep pushing it all the way up. Until it formed the crust that you're looking for. Try and make sure it's even as possible. So you can see I'm just pushing it with my fingers there, making sure it's not too thin at the bottom, that's the key. You want it more thin at the side than the bottom. I like doing it this way because it gives it that nice home feel. It's not that bought-in pastry, it looks perfect. You know, you want that rustic sort of style to it, and it's super quick and easy to do it this way as well. There you go, you just make sure that middle part, this middle part here, make sure it's not too thin. Otherwise, and make sure it's all prayerfully pressed down, otherwise your quiche mix could leak out, which we don't want to happen. Okay, so now you've got your pastry all into the mould. You want to grab yourself the baking tray, just slide it onto your baking tray. We're going to bake this in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes at 180 degrees. Okay, so now your pastry's in the oven, so while that's cooking, let's start on the filling. So you want to grab your knife. We've got a nice red onion here. So cut the bottom off, cut it straight down the middle. The reason you cut off the bottom so it's nice and stable. Take the skin off. And repeat that process. So now you just want to slice them. So nice thin slices. Chuck in your onions, get them starting to cook down. And while they're cooking, we'll move on to prepping the garlic. So I was going to put 1 clove of garlic in because here in Medea the garlic's really strong, but if you want to put 2, go for 2. Let's just crush it down. That just helps take that skin off in one good motion. And then you can really puree this if you like, but I like my garlic a little bit chunky so I can taste it. So I just go over it once or twice, I don't put too much because I love garlic personally. So give it a little stir. It's already starting to smell good already. So now we're going to move on to slicing our bacon and add it into here as well. So your onions have been cooking for a minute or two, so now we're going to get onto the bacon. So I'm using smoked bacon today, but well back in the UK, try and get some turkey bacon. It's a lot less, leaner and fat. So now we're just going to do little lardons. So you want it nice and thin because then we can get it nice and crispy. And then you're just going to repeat that. Take these big bits, you just want to cut them. Take the big bits here like that, just cut them again into 3 so they're nice and small. And this will help to make sure there's plenty all over the quiche so it spreads evenly. And also, like I said, it'll crispen up a lot better when you cut them into lardons like this. Right, so you can see the onions are starting to really caramelise now with the garlic, which is fantastic. So now we're just going to add in the bacon. Let that get nice and crispy for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then we're going to add in some spinach. Okay, so that's been about 20 minutes now. You can see the pastry is nice. We just want to let it cool down for about 10 minutes before we add in the filling. So we're going to finish off making the quiche mix now. Grab some of your nice washed watercress there. Just give it a nice rough chop. Don't go over it twice, just once, otherwise you'll bruise it. Perfect. Doesn't need to be completely small because it is going to break down in the pan. And then just grab it and then add it into your mix. Yeah, just let that cook for 1 minute. And I've not added in any salt to this really because the bacon's quite salty, so we need to be careful with the salt levels. Okay, so that's all your watercress and bacon and onions and all that all cooked down now. So you just want to let that cool, otherwise it can make your pastry really soggy if you add it in too hot. So just let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes, and in the meantime we're going to make on the quiche mix now. Okay, so now you want to just crack 6 eggs into a bowl. Give them a little whisk before we add in the almond milk, just so they're all broken down, just like that. You can use a whisk or use a fork if you like. Perfect. So now you want to add 100 milliliters of milk. I've made this loads of times, so I don't need to weigh it out completely, but just make sure you weigh it out the 100 milliliters. And then give it a good whisk again, so it all comes together. Nice big bit of salt. So now your mix is quite cooled down. You just want to sprinkle it all down the bottom there. Look how lovely that colour looks. Just spread it so it's nice and even, so every bite you get a nice good flavour there. And then I'm going to pour on your mix. Pour it so it's all completely covered. Perfect. Add 50 grams of mozzarella on top, just to cover the top, makes it nice and golden brown. Perfect. So now we're going to pop it in the oven, and it should take about 30 to 35 minutes to cook at 180. Once it's ready, it shouldn't be wobbly anymore, but we'll demonstrate that near the end. Okay, so that's been about 30 to 35 minutes now. So let's just check the quiche. So if you shake it, you see it's not wobbling, which means it's perfect. When you look at it, it's already lovely. So now we're just going to let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to pop out the mold. So just get it onto a cooling rack. Okay, so that's been cooling for 10 minutes now. So now it's on to the final stage. Let's pop out the mold and let's eat into this delicious quiche. So you want to just grab the mold. That's why I like using these plastic ones, because you can just pull it back and literally slide it straight out the mold. That's why it's great having these flexible plastic ones. Perfect. So now we're going to cut this quiche and tuck into it. So that's how it's finished now, guys. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's been my take on a healthy quiche, and I couldn't wait. I've already tucked into it. So if you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel below and leave your comments. For more recipes like this, go to our webpage. And then until then, I'll see you next time. Oh, that's good.